Yes, good evening, everyone. And just recently, I've been, reflecting on, how thinking mind, we all think, isn't it? Sometimes some of those thinking minds, sometimes you can't stop, isn't it? It's so intense, and it's remind me of how, with all our thinking minds, we have thoughts, how we create our own world. So we are what we think. All that we are arises with thoughts. So with our thoughts, we create our world, isn't it? Whatever we think, and then the mind is just naturally, the more you think about it, and you will create that. Because the thoughts will manifest into words. You have the inner chapter, isn't it? The thoughts come, then inside you have, you start to make up the story, you're talking to yourself, the inner chapter. And then that is because from the one little single thoughts that arises, and then it manifests into talking, speech, like inner chatter is into words, and then the words will manifest into deed. It will at the point, isn't it? First come with the thoughts, and then we thinking about it, followed by we will do it, isn't it? We will act upon that. And this is how it manifests. So then the same act, you do it again and again, you repeat that again, you develop into a habit, so it become a habit. And when it become a habit, and then it's hardened into a characters, like part of like your habitual, you have this very strong habitual pattern, or just become part of your personality. And when it become your characters, become like your personality, that is really ingrained. It's quite difficult because this is how it's keep, how we reinforce, They said, the Buddha said, watch your thoughts, and it's with care and spring, and let it spring from love. So sometimes when we have this unwholesome or something, things that the thoughts come, we tend to identify ourselves, we judge ourselves, isn't it? We think that it's terrible. Oh, how come I think this way? I'm terrible, I'm bad. And then you started to feel guilty about that. I remember when I was Anagarikas many years ago, So after dana, I want to quickly go back. I just want to meditate. And then we have one of our volunteers used to come, and he used to help us, Then of course when he come to help us, and at least, then there's some Ajahn and then the time Niroda, and then, you cannot just say, off you go, Someone come and then help you. You still have to, sit, have a cup of tea, talk to them and entertain a little bit. That is usually you annoy me. I was thinking, why is this person going? Why is he still hanging around? I just want to meditate. Then after that, I feel guilty. I feel guilty because I know that he's such a nice person. I know that he's helping us. On one hand, I know that he's such a nice person helping us. But on the other hand, I can't help myself have this unwholesome thoughts, thinking that, oh, you disturb, why did you go early? I want to meditate, And sometimes and then this started, I learned to just, not to judge, just to accept. Sometimes we not to try to control. The goal of meditation is not to try to control our mind, not to think. You cannot do that. Actually, is to not allow those thoughts to control us. So seeing that if I continue to do that, then, but we are not trying to pretend that is I'm not. Then you try to suppress. But then if you feel guilty, you reinforce. So that's it. Sometimes you just acknowledge, we not pretend that, yes, this is how I feel. Yes, this is something that is unwholesome. This is something that leads me to more suffering, because you get upset, you get angry, and then you know that it causes you suffering. And then you have to learn to, okay, we first of all, we recognize that. And we acknowledge, yes, this is how I feel, but this is not to judge ourselves, and accept that who we are is okay. That I feel recently someone said to me that, she have all these distracted thoughts, especially a loss of anger, and think of someone and so much anger come out. Then I told this person, and then she keep thinking about, and then that particular person, even, the person is not right in front of her, and then she just can't stop herself, like a lot of anger, the anger aroused in her. Then I thought, and then she feel really, why I still have anger? Because the person is not there. And then I told her, I said, if you have no anger, you are either once non-returner or you're fully enlightened. I said, of course you have anger. Some people think that I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't have anger. I said, of course you have anger, but at least you know that you're having it. You're angry. You're not pretending that you're not. It's just like the Buddhist. I like one of the Buddhist saying. He said, a fool know that he's a fool. He's still wise to that extent. If a fool think that he's wise, he indeed a fool, isn't it? You think that, oh, I'm okay, you pretend that, I'm all right. But we just been honest about that. This is how we feel. We don't judge that it's good or bad. It's just that then this is how it will go. This is how that you don't reinforce. But sometimes by running away or suppressing, it will reinforce. And that's why it reminds me the Buddha said in one of the Buddha's teaching when he was still enlightened bodhisattva. So he said he taught about two kinds of thoughts. He will divide the thoughts into two. So one is unwholesome thoughts, one is wholesome thoughts. So then what is unwholesome thoughts? The thoughts like, sometimes it's not all thinking is bad. It's not that you shouldn't think. Sometimes people think that they shouldn't think. No, it's not that all thinking is bad, But sometimes those thinking, those thoughts that leads you to suffering, leads you to negative, the unwholesome state of mind or negative state of mind, and that lead to suffering. And this kind of thought, then we have to learn to how to overcome that, So what is unwholesome thoughts that you think of, like follow your sensual pleasure, but doesn't mean that you should feel guilty when you have some delicious food. That I shouldn't enjoy my food. It's just that this is how you feel. It's nice food, it's delicious. Yeah, you just acknowledge. And that's it. But you're not thinking of, how can I get this? Because when the greed comes, the desires, and then sometimes because of we attach to it so much that we want it so much, that sometimes we get things even on the expense of others. Then you cause you suffering because you're harming others because of for your own, on the expense of others, that getting what you want. And that is unwholesome. It's not all desires. It's not that we shouldn't have desires. If we have no desires, we can't go to the toilet. We can't eat. Actually, some desires have no karmic consequences. When you're hungry, you have desires to eat. And then you have desires to come to listen to Dhamma talk. You don't have to eat that. The kind of desires will not lead you to unwholesome state of mind or commit any unwholesome deed. Like Ananda also he also mentioned that, when he said that sometimes these desires will help you to abandon all desires. Because you have the desires to come to practice, you have the desires to walk the path. You first of all, you have the desire to do it, isn't it? And you have the desires to come here. You have the desires to do that first. If not, you will not start practicing. And it's okay. It's not that we shouldn't have any desires or we shouldn't have any sensual pleasure or you don't have to feel guilty if you have. But when you're eating, you find that if the food is delicious, you just acknowledge that it's delicious. That's it. But not to think that how can I get it, next time, and I want it more and more and more. That's why as a monastic, we used to reflect when we eat. So we said we eat it only for nourishment of the body, keeping it healthy, and for living the holy life, thinking this, I will allay hunger without overeating, so that I may continue to live blamelessly and at ease. Not to, sometimes from one the food is delicious. From one feelings, we create another feeling, and then we want more. And then that is greed come. So it's okay. We just enjoy. If the food is delicious, you enjoy it, it's fine, And or ill will. Ill will is something that when you're having ill will, anger towards others, and this also leads you to negative state of mind, unwholesome state of mind, Everybody know when you're angry, how do you feel? It's not something that is pleasant. And this also, lead you to being negative. Like sometimes you always think of negative things, it becomes so negative. I remember some years ago, and I come across someone that is so negative. Like a compliment becomes like a criticism to this person. I remember the other person come and tell me, I was praising this person. It's a compliment. I tell this person, wow, you sometimes you do have good idea, but to this person is compliment, but to the other person was very angry. She said, I only sometimes have good idea. I mean, it's normal. No one in this world always have good idea, isn't it? But sometimes we have good idea, we're so happy, isn't it? But to that person, actually try to praise that person. The person actually is just a compliment. The person who give the compliment to the other person, but the receiving end got upset. And this person said to me, why is she upset? And she said to me that, I only sometimes have good idea. Sometimes when you're negative, whatever go through, you filter out. You see negative, you become so negative, nothing is good enough. And they said, the Buddha said, if you whenever, that you frequently think and ponder a point, that will becomes the inclination of your mind. Your mind inclined that way. Because you keep thinking, if your mind keep repeating, thinking about negative things, it become very negative. Even someone like this person, someone even praise you, you can't even take compliments. So you will somehow would think that is, like this person that still can think that we all look at speechless, it's a compliment to us, of course we don't always have good idea, it's natural, isn't it? It's normal, isn't it? Then we said, we are speechless, can't say anything. And this is how the Buddha said, we become very strong inclination, we become so negative. If we have become so negative, you're unable to really enjoy things, And because this is how we manifest, we reinforce and make it so we manifest and we amplify. Sometimes we amplify our suffering. We make it very strong. Sometimes things that is very small, little thing, it become very strong. I remember that we used to run on Pinter Park, there was a couple. And then one time when I went there, the husband wasn't there. And then asked, where's your husband? He said, okay, my husband just passed away last week. He committed suicide. He hanged himself in the garage because he lost his job. You see, sometimes that you think that it's such a big deal, isn't it? When you focus on, how the mind, how you manifest, the one little thought thing, I lose my job. If I lose my job, this will happen. Or that will happen. This will happen. Then, and it becomes like unbearable, like almost the end of the world, because we focus on that, and this is how we keep reinforcing, and then after that we believe that, and this is how we create our world. I remember that one of our supporters, she told me, it's a real story. She told us. She said that she used to go past a place, and there was a fight with the bikies. And she believed there was one of the bikies passed away because of the fight. And then whenever she walked past, she drove past, she feel there's an energy there, like some beings there needing her loving kindness. So whenever she go past there, she said metta, loving kindness to this being, may you be well and happy, and then she feel that, wow, she feel the energy getting stronger and stronger. She can feel the energy that knitting her metta, Then each time she go past, she do that all the time. She be doing that, I think, for almost 3 years. Then after 3 years, then somehow she found out that actually this bikie is still alive. But this is how, you because sometimes the more you think about it, you started to feel that way, isn't it? But for example, sometimes, we stay in the monastery, we stay in the bush, and we always, sometimes, summer come, we have ticks, That if someone get ticks bite, they said they're very itchy, you started to feel itchy. Oh, maybe I got one. And this is how psychologically you think that you have it. This is how the Buddha said we create that ourselves. We create our own world. With the thoughts, we create our own world. So we want to see what we want to see. When we believe in something, somehow we will see it. That's why I keep telling people, some people said, oh, I will not believe it until I see it, Actually, I said, and then people think that, seeing is believing. Many people said that, isn't it? But I said, should be the other way around. Believing is seeing. When you believe, you see it. Somehow you block off. You block off your mind. You want to see what you want to see. It's just, they say sometimes it's so tricky. They say when we practice, when we develop our mind, when we have more clarity, we're able to see. When I started to practice, I can see some of the things that I normally don't see it myself. I started to see. I can even see that how that people that I liked, that I try to, I can easily excuse, and I try to block off, not to see. Like I remember when I was in Thailand, there was a lady, she's very kind to me, and just because I like her. And when somebody told me about her behavior, that actually deep down, I have that kind of resentment, like I don't want to believe that, You try to block off, you don't want to see it, And I can see that myself, that I'm doing that. I can see that, like someone that I like, I can see that even though someone tell me that, oh, this person behavior, then because you like this person, then you try to think, I try to give myself all sorts of excuses. Maybe this person is not like this, how you try to justify. And then I can see that sometimes, like people that I don't like, I immediately jump into conclusion, You see, this person do that again. Like, very easily we judge, isn't it? Because we don't like that person. And this is how sometimes, how our mind, that's how we create our world. That's why the Buddha said, if you frequently things and ponder a point, that so becomes the inclination of the mind. That's why it's so important that you develop your mind. That's why sometimes it's okay even you have unwholesome thoughts. You don't judge yourself. So you just look at it. Okay, I'm not going to follow that. I'm not going to reinforce that, to make it a strong inclination, not to manifest into develop the habit. The strong habit. And we just recognize, acknowledge, accept, forgive ourselves, and we just let it go. A lot of people don't see that acceptance itself is letting go, because sometimes we cannot accept because come from a sense of self. So we are good and nice person, but when we have unwholesome thoughts, we tend to judge ourselves that we are not a nice person, we are not a good person, we are terrible. And this is how, because come from the sense of self. But rather than come looking at, okay, just accept who we are. Sometimes, sometimes we might be a bit grumpy, sometimes we're a bit feel agitated, irritated. It's fine. This is how we feel. So we love ourselves as we are. This is how we learn, that to develop the more a positive state of mind. So because any unwholesome, like ill will, anger, jealousy, on all this will lead you to a negative and unwholesome emotion, and they lead to suffering. And we be able to see that. That's why we stop following these thoughts. That the Buddha also the Buddhists also give another teaching about how to remove this kind of, distracting thoughts, these thoughts that leads us to suffering. And now we talk about what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. And then what is wholesome? Wholesome, you think about what I can give, what can I help, And because it's, when we think of that, because it's opposite of like ill will, and you think of loving kindness, and like desires, you think of renunciation, you think of giving, you think of what can I give. Actually, you can train yourself every day. Get up in the morning, what I can give today, That actually they give you, that develop this, positive mind state, and that bring you happiness. When you give, you feel happy. I remember when my mother passed away, the first few months, I still have grief. I still grieve, the first few months from time to time, not all the time, sometimes, when I think of her, because I feel, I just like, I grieve because of I have lost my mom, Then suddenly one day, I just stopped. I was thinking, why I've been thinking that I lost my mom? Why don't I just look at it things the other way? That, rather than I have lost her, why don't I think that I have her this many years? Because my mother passed away when I was in my late 30s. So I said, and then why don't I look at it that I have her for all these 30 over years? Then I started to reflect on her good qualities, like such a nice person, her good qualities. Actually, when I do that, actually I have so much joy. And I feel so blessed, and I feel so grateful that I must have done lots of good karma in my previous life to deserve someone in my life. And then I can tell you, since that day onwards, whenever I think of my mother, I have no sadness, nothing. It's only joy and happiness. I remember when I told one of our supporters, she said, I would love that if my children think of me, if I pass away, with joy and happiness. To me, is that this is the best inheritance I have from my mom. Because her qualities. That's why I keep telling people, it's not how much money you leave behind, but how you live your life, the quality that you live your life. If you're a nice person, compassionate person, then because of my mom, and then after a few years, my father passed away, and then after 3 months, my brother passed away. I can tell you, when my father passed away, I did not grieve at all. It doesn't mean that I don't love him. I really appreciate, I really feel so grateful that, I have my parents, and I just focus on the good qualities and bring me so much joy and happiness, that such a generous and kind person. My mother's very generous, like her friend needs help. Sometimes she's that time, many years, at 30, 40 years, $10 is a lot, Like sometimes she said only $10, her friend need it urgently. She give it to her friend because she think that her friend need it, she does not need it. And also she's very kind. Even, that time my family, my brother, they're doing a bakery business. And then, of course, we have our workers and things like that. So my mother used to cook. And then she's so kind. When she fried fish, she chose the nice one to give to others. She said, make sure that, you want to give. And this is what she told me, when you give, you make sure you give something good to others. And then she will keep those that, doesn't look nice, those fish that she fried that is not so nice, she keep it. She said, if you want to give, make sure you give the best to others. She have those quality. And that's really bring up so much joy and happiness. And I'm so grateful that I have her in my life. And this is how, then I changed immediately, it just changed my the whole way of thinking. And I must say that partly also maybe it's come from my previous life, that normally when even when I was young, I normally like things that make me unhappy. I always tell myself, why I want to focus on things that make me unhappy? There are so many things that make me happy. Why don't I just focus on things that make me happy? And then this is how, that's why I normally didn't carry with me too long. Like even someone be nasty to me or make me angry. Sometimes I think I should get angry, but very fast it's passed because it becomes like part of my nature that I just don't focus on those, that make me upset. Because why I want to focus on that to make myself upset, That's why sometimes like if you will never live a positive life if you think negative. So when we say staying positive, doesn't mean that, that when you're positive things, then things turns out will be all okay. It's not. You know that you'll be okay no matter how things turns out. It's not that you being positive, then you would change the whole situation. No, it's okay, not the end of the world. You can always find something, They say it's good that even before you go to bed, you can always find something that make you smile, make you happy. And that's helped you to develop that strong inclination, So I just recently, sprained my ankle. When I put my leftover foot out, my kuti, that day I was having my day off. And then all the time I do that, I'm okay. But that day I was tripped over by a stone, a rock. I was spraining my ankles, and my ankles are tennis ball, Can't walk. And I crawl back. I crawl back. And I was so grateful, even I sprained my ankle. I'm so grateful that it's happened in my kuti. It's not happened outside or in the airport because I used to travel. I'm so grateful for that. So I'm grateful that I'm still okay now. I'm grateful that I don't have to last minute cancel, like I have to ask someone to come and cover me because I can't walk. And I'm so grateful that I still can walk. I'm so grateful I still can turn up. So even I sprain my ankle, it's okay. You can always think that, it's always something that is you grateful of, grateful for. That is, I'm so grateful that it's happened. And happened that, because another 2 weeks I'm going to travel. I'm going to Sydney, then to Melbourne. Then I said, luckily it's happened now. So I still have 2 weeks to recover. But if you keep, if your mind keep thinking, how terrible, sometimes you see how some parents, how the way they teach their children, when the children fall down, they teach the children to hit the floor, blame the floor, hit the floor. or when they hit that they blame that they hit the wall or hit the rock, when they fall down, trip over by the. Now I'm not going to hit the rock because I trip over. Oh, terrible! I don't blame that, But this is not a good example, isn't it? To teach them, this way, to blame, But just okay, whatever happened is fine. It's okay, And because the moment when you train yourself that way, because I find it very useful that practice present moment awareness is very important. Because I know sometimes people come to me and ask me, what is the best meditation when near death? You're going to die. I said, there's no best meditation for that. I said, you just have to train yourself. Like more like a default setting. Train yourself, keep bringing your mind back to present moment awareness. And then whenever this is something that is, the moment you catch yourself that this is something that is a negative, thoughts or unwholesome thoughts, that cause you, leads you to suffering, then you train your mind to bring back to present moment awareness, to stay present. And actually, if you keep doing that again and again and again, I can guarantee you naturally, your mind you will not get lost in your thinking, in your thoughts. You have to train. If you keep training, actually sometimes, yes, maybe at the beginning you get lost in your thoughts, Sometimes people get lost in their thoughts, they go to Siberia without knowing how they get there, go on and on the mind, then they don't even know how they get there. But after you've been training your mind, practice present moment awareness, whenever you catch yourself, It's okay whenever you catch yourself wander off, especially with those unwholesome thoughts that leads you to anger, that leads you to an unwholesome state of mind. You train your mind back to present moment awareness. Bring it back again and again. When you do that, actually, over a period of time, I can tell you it's natural because you've been trained that way. Like you become a very strong inclination. Whenever you have unwholesome thoughts, your mind come back. This is how you train. And then maybe in the past you get lost in your thoughts. Maybe you can even write a storybook. But slowly as you train, you can find yourself, sometimes you still get lost in your thoughts, but sometimes maybe go to a few pages, then slowly go to one page, and then maybe go to one paragraph, two paragraphs, and sometimes just a few words. Sometimes when your mindfulness is strong enough, you'll be able to catch sometimes the little thoughts that arises that moment. Yeah, immediately when your mindfulness is sharp, it's just a very sharp knife. It stops immediately. Then there's no shortcut. You have to train that way. So you train your mind this is how you condition your mind. So when you have a strong inclination, it's just, you don't have to worry. It's just like a default setting. That is just automatically your mind won't follow that thoughts. You were not lost in that thoughts. This is how you keep training your mind. So it's important that you try to practice present moment awareness in your daily life and not to underestimate that. That's why I told someone, and someone asked me what is the best meditation, when near that, So I said, if you be able to live in present moment awareness, you are ready to die any moment. Because you learn peace. You learn to make peace with every moment. It's okay. Whatever we experience this moment, you learn to make peace. It's okay. This is how I feel. Sometimes we're not accepting how we feel because come from the sense of self. How we think, who we think we are, how we identify ourselves. I think that is it. I know that, when I was a lay person, I used to sometimes very obsessive, it's a perfectionist. Things have to be really perfect, Then I remember when I was still Anagarikas, I still to get so annoyed with when people arrange flower not symmetrical, just how, very obsessed, cannot stand. Sometimes then I have to tell myself, I have to restrain myself, no, I'm not going to touch. I almost want to touch, and to rearrange all that. Then I tell myself, no, it's okay not to get obsessed with that, Then slowly I let go. Then I'm okay now. I'm not so obsessed with thing that is not, have to balance, have to go same way, When I look at people, sometimes when they arrange flowers, and then sometimes when you bend this way, you have to be mirror image. This side you have to bend left, but some people do the flowers is both one side. Then when they put it there, make me eyesore. I was really eyesore when I look at it. Then I just train myself that no, not to get obsessed, So then now I'm okay, I don't care. And last time also with even hanging clothes, with my pegs, I have to same type of pegs, same color. Because I can't stand when things is not tidy, But now I have this. Now I just okay. It doesn't matter what kind of color, mixed color, Then I have to learn to just let go. I keep telling. This is how I just restrain. You have to learn to restrain. Especially that you have this habit. So you have to restrain yourself. Don't do it. That's why even though I have that urge of almost want to touch, but I tell myself, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. But now I'm okay. I don't feel really eyesore, sometimes people is really so obsessed, we call it OCD, when you have OCD. Then when someone have OCD, they can't even say OCD, they have to say CDO. Can't even said the word OCD because you have to follow alphabet, so you become CDO. Yeah. And this is how you train your mind. Restraining is also part of that. Restrain your mind not to follow that. And that's why, and also, as I said, the Buddha also mentioned in one of the teaching that how to remove this kind of, it's more like a distracting type of thoughts that leads you to unwholesome state of mind. So the first one, he said that when you have this kind of distracting thoughts that, that leads you to unwholesome state of mind, that you can replacing the mental object. Like for example, you have ill will, then you try to replace with loving kindness, or you have desires, you think of what I can give, you replace your mental object. So this is one of the way, to replace. If you constantly think of, like you have that kind of tendency of like thinking of what you can get, and then you have very strong desires, then you can just change that to think of what I can give, what I can give to others. And you have to, because if you keep repeating it, it will develop the habit. Then you have to, they say this is a path that you go against the stream. They said when Buddha got enlightened, he also was thinking, if I'm going to teach people in the world, people think that I'm crazy. Because it's things that you go against what normal people do, and then it's very difficult to teach people. That's why, then this is counteract, counteract. So you have ill will, you bring out loving kindness, and then if you have a very strong desires, and some people have very strong lust, then you just reflect on something that is like unbeautiful. Like some people have obsessed with food, and they like food so much. It's okay, sometimes it's delicious, but if you come to the point like you get so obsessed, then you have to restrain ourselves. That's why normally I tell, because especially for monastic, you let go lots of things. The only thing you still, you still can hold on to is like sometimes food, that you still can have food. And this is something that's why I told when we, in the monastery, when I give Dharma talk, I told that, okay, if you find yourself, your craving for food is very strong, so you have to reflect and think of, how the food that you eat in, and then the other end how it looks like. Then you no longer crave for the food anymore. You think, oh, this is so terrible, I said this is one of the way then to reduce the craving for food. And this is how easy you just replace, And then the second one, you just to examine, to look at the danger, to look at the danger of these thoughts that lead to examine, Sometimes I say, sometimes it's good that when we have that kind of thought, sometimes it's good that we question ourselves, is it going to lead me to happiness? We question ourselves, That's why sometimes it's quite good if, for example, I remember that sometimes you have this self-pity, you feel like you're being accused, and then you're terrible. How come other people think of me like this, Then when I started to question myself, I said, why not? We can't control how people to think of me. Then sometimes I keep, sometimes you keep questioning yourself. I can guarantee you, when you question yourself, you have the answer. Actually, we all deep down we know. But sometimes it's good that we examine that, And the third, and then there's a third way is not to give attention. Because sometimes when we focus, you give attention. This is how, like, the man commits suicide because he lost his job. Because you manifest. You think that's the end of the world, but actually it's not the end of the world. You just lose a job, you find another job. But sometimes how we get the danger part of that, you get stuck into that, So they said not to pay attention. Just know that these thoughts is, these are unwholesome thoughts that leads me to unwholesome state of mind, will lead to more suffering, then not to pay attention. Because once you focus, you pay attention, you tend to amplify your suffering. And then your suffering become unbearable. So it's just like, okay, just ignore. Just knowing, it's just like, how you do it, like touch and go. It's not to suppress or not to run away. It's not to pretend that it's not there, but you just touch and go. Recognize and acknowledge that this is how. Then you're aware of that. Then accept, forgive, and okay. Then go back again, present moment awareness. That will stop. You just pay attention. Like for example, I have a clock in my kuti. It's there. It's always tick 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 tick. But when I don't pay attention, I don't hear anything at all. But sometimes when I pay attention, it's very loud. It's tick 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 tick. When I meditate, I can hear tick 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 tick. But then sometimes I just ignore. And I just focus, just focus on my meditation object. I focus, I don't hear it. But it's there because I don't pay attention. Not to pay attention. And then the fourth way is not try to calming, stopping the cause of your thoughts that, what causes you. But sometimes, for example, like sometimes the mind a bit boring. And sometimes the mind like excitement, like drama. Sometimes we like to go into those thoughts because it gives you excitement, that give you excitement. Then sometimes it's just okay. You just telling yourself that it's okay, calming, relax, just relax. Or you just using, like for example, the Buddha said, like you just bring, your awareness to your body, just relax your body. Or just tell yourself when you feel angry or whatever, with those thoughts that, that trigger your anger. And you just tell yourself, okay, just calming yourself down with just, aware of your bodily posture and this awareness. You bring your awareness. It's also one of the very good useful tools that you do body awareness. Just bring your awareness to your body to feel how your body reacts through that particular thoughts. And it's a way of calming your thoughts. It's so that you're not forcing yourself, but it's a way to calming. And then it still doesn't work after 4 ways. The last one, you have to restrain. Even you clench your teeth, that you feel like you almost want to strangle that person, you want to kill that person, then you have to restrain yourself. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I remember when I was in Thailand, and happily after meditation, and I cleaning those Sima hall. After mopping the floor, so clean, so happy, so satisfying that after the cleaning. And then someone wearing their shoes and walk in and all the shoes print there. Wow, I was really mad. I feel like I really want to strangle that person. I feel like I'm going to strangle that person. Then, because I'm aware that there is something unwholesome, something that, then I just aware of that, I restrain myself. So there is a difference with suppressing and restrain. Restrain, you have the awareness, you're aware of that. You're aware that this will cause you suffering, will lead you to commit any unwholesome deed. Then you restrain yourself. No matter how, I'm not going to do it. You just restrain yourself not doing it. But suppressing is that you're not knowing. But anything comes out, you just push it down. And then you become habit, like default setting, not knowing that you're suppressing. So when suppressing, that you don't have the awareness, you don't know. But restraining, you're aware of that. You consciously know, you're aware that because it's going to lead to the suffering, no matter what, I'm going to restrain myself. I'm not going to do it, not going to follow, I'm not going to follow that trend of thoughts, That's why it's important that you have to train yourself, There is no shortcut. There's sometimes like to be able to live, you will never live a positive life if you always think negative. So that's why it's good that you train yourself, Get up early in the morning or before you go to bed. Think something that makes you happy, that is grateful. And this over a period of time, you are naturally, it becomes like your nature, a second nature. You just naturally, That's why sometimes that you can't say that last moment, I can pull out, I can think of something positive. No, it's like most of like people said last moment thoughts, when you die, then you can't last moment that force yourself to think something positive. Most of our thoughts is all happy cheer. That's why it's important, like the Buddha said, you keep doing it again and again. This is how it's become. You repeat the action again and again. Then you reinforce it. It's like become a default setting. Then you just naturally, you react to things, you react to those thoughts, without even consciously aware. Subconsciously you are doing it. And then it becomes very strong, a very ingrained type of habits, and it's very difficult, to overcome that. That's why it's important, train yourself, present moment awareness in your daily life, and it's important, and the meditation, because when your mind becomes more peaceful, you're peaceful and calm, and you'll be able to restrain easier. Because you'll be able to say no easier. But if you're not peaceful, you're not calm enough, somehow you know that this is something unwholesome, sometimes you still can't bite back our tongue, we still want to say something, And but because of our mind is not calm enough, not peaceful enough. So that's why it's all come together. Mindfulness, like present moment awareness, develop your mindfulness, be more aware of that, then peaceful mind, your mind become very stable, very peaceful, and it's because it's all, they complement each other, in our daily life, whatever we do, we practice present moment awareness, develop a mindfulness, because when the mindfulness is strong, then very easy, when we meditate, we become peaceful very easily. So as our stillness, our peace, goes up, our mindfulness up. As our mindfulness up, we become calm. It's go this way, and this go up, this will go up, this go up, this will go up. It's complement each other. So you can't say, I only practice this, I don't practice that. I only, focus, to have samadhi, just stillness, But without mindfulness, like practice present moment awareness, you cannot develop the stillness. So when your mind become more and more still, that means your mindfulness is helped with your mindfulness, because you'll be able to hold yourself to say no to those defilements. If not, very easily we easily follow the trend of thoughts, and then we get lost in our thoughts, go on and on and on and on. And sometimes that is a bit, sometimes like the beginning of the thoughts and it's the end of the thoughts, I can tell you sometimes not related, isn't it? Not related at all, but the mind just go on and on and on, one leading the other. And then sometimes you say, hey, what happened? These thoughts come, and then the end, that completely nothing to do with this. The beginning of the thoughts is nothing related, isn't it? But the mind, just how the mind proliferate, how we make up all the stories. And then sometimes we cannot come out like a spiral, and then we live in that world. This is how we create our world. So that's why it's good that we train ourselves, how to overcome your thoughts, because your thoughts create your world. So I offer this for Dhamma reflection. May this teaching be of benefit to all of you. So any questions or comments?
Hi. With the thoughts arising, originating from something instigating them, something causing the thoughts to arise. Now, that can be unconscious or can be consciously risen.
So when your mindfulness is strong, you're more consciously aware of that. But sometimes like people that quite blur, and then especially when you train your mind, that you always just react and then so quickly, and then it's become like a default setting, and you become like automatic pilot. It just goes. That's why it's important when you develop your mind, you train your mind. Then when your mindfulness is strong, so you slow down. So you don't react impulsively. You have more space to look at the thoughts. Because like more people say, if you don't train your mind, you easily get caught without even knowing that you get caught and just lost in your thoughts. Because that's why you have to train your mind, be able to see that, Because it's too close. When you develop your mind, when you're more mindful, your mindfulness is strong. You practice present moment awareness in your daily life, and you sit in meditation. When your mind have more clarity and you have more space, so whatever comes out, you'll be able to see. Because when it's too close, we can't see. And then it's become a habit, and it's just like you do it subconsciously without knowing. But then when your mindfulness is strong, when your mind is, you have the stillness, when you have clarity, you'll be able to see it very clearly. That's why you have to train your mind, be able to see that. But if you don't train, many people are unable to see. They just act out of habit, like a default setting. Like this is how we have to reset. We have to reset our mind and to train our mind. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I wanted to know also, instead of allowing them to be random, make it if you can possibly make a list and then think about items on that list.
Can you repeat again?
Yeah, instead of allowing the thoughts to be random, have a list of what you want to think about and direct your thoughts.
Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't try to direct your mind, because sometimes if you're unable to catch that, because first of all, your mindfulness have to be strong enough, and then actually this is more like as you train, you know that, for example, it's naturally when you know that it's anger, then you know that okay, I'm feel angry now. So then you say okay, then this is how. That's because when you have the clarity, you'll be able to choose. That okay, this is a choice. I'm not choose to follow that. I'm not choose to follow the anger. So I choose okay. This is how I feel. Even though I'm angry, I choose to forgive myself. Even though I'm angry, or I make a mistake, or I've done something causes someone hurt or harm. So you choose to forgive yourself. That is also kindness towards yourself. Because when you have the clarity, you have more space. You'll be able to choose. You'll be able to think of how to counteract. So that's why the training your mind to have more space is important. This is how you slow down. Because normally most people are very quick. The moment one thoughts out, the habit is so strong immediately, no time to think, no time to reflect. But when you practice, you slow down your mind, you have more space. Because it's very fast. For example, sometimes we know when we do chanting, when we wander off, we be able to know that wander off, we can even continue to chant. Because you're aware of that. Because you have more space. So that's why you have to train your mind, so that you have more space to be able to choose not to follow, and to use any strategy, any skillful means to counteract. So you have to have enough space in your mind to be able to do that. So does that answer your question?
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Is there any more questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you for the talk.
Yeah.
My question is about, just say you're part of the family of that person who lost his job and went in, hung himself or whatever events that happened. I'm not sure if your example was real or just for the sake of the talk. But how does that family cope with that suffering that event has caused. Like, I mean, they probably feel guilt and anger and sadness and rejection and all sorts of other emotions that are quite strong, and presumably not wholesome.
Yeah. So you means that you refer to that is I give you the example how the person family react to that. Actually, his wife is quite good because I come from her practice. That she's pretty calm, and she just said that actually, of course, she still sometimes doesn't mean that we shouldn't feel sad, we shouldn't feel grief. We know that, but we still move on with life, and we understand that this is part of life. But the wife is quite good, like she coped with that quite well. I think it's partly also come from the practice. Like if you have the practice, when your mindfulness is strong, if you are a peaceful and calm person, you'll be able to deal with the situation better. When you're not trained, and very easily we get sucked in and we react to the situation, and then we suffer more. That's why it's important that we have to train our mind. That when we are peaceful, when we are calm. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't feel sad, but we know that we're sad. We just, because we've been practicing. Like, for example, I know that, my mom passed away. Yeah, I feel sad, But then I know that I continue to do that, that it's caused me more suffering. Then one day I just realized that I don't have to think of, why I want to think of that she have left me. Why don't I think that I have her? So then it's just actually the wisdom actually is come from your practice, come from when you practice, when your mind have more and more clarity, you'll be able to see things, you'll be able to see why you suffer, and you'll be able to see that if you follow that, that trends of thoughts will lead you to suffering. But without practice, without training your mind, you're unable to see that, you're unable to resolve and to resolve your emotions or your problems, that because when you have more and more clarity, that means you have more wisdom. The wiser you are, the happier you are. It's just naturally. So it needs to train. Of course, if someone not trained, the mind is not trained, then it's very easily. Sometimes people take years, can't come out. Go on, and then so live in the past, and they keep replay again and again. That's why you need to train your mind, to develop your mind. When you have enough clarity, you are not so easily get sucked in.
Is it related to believing or feeling that there is, that they will have another life, or that you will have another life, or another opportunity, or that they're still happy in whatever form they now are in? Is that related to that, or not necessarily?
Actually, it is more important that if you're happy now, it's more likely you're happy the next moment and the next. So if you're not happy now, you think you'll be happy the next moment. It's okay whether there's next life or what. At least you know that, in this moment you are relieved, you're happy in this moment. Okay. So, any more questions or comments?
Hi, thanks for the talk. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about present moment awareness and how you develop that, and is it kind of developed through like breath meditation and that kind of thing? Thanks.
So, because a lot of people think that it's only sitting on the cushions is a practice, but sometimes many people tend to neglect how important how we live our life. That's why it's important in daily life. We train ourselves to be more focused. But sometimes, for example, when you're doing dishes, sometimes while you're doing dishes, your mind will tend to wander off. You start thinking, when they're doing dishes, you start thinking, what I'm going to cook next meal, and that, then that's the time you have to bring your mind back. Okay, stop, not follow that, Sometimes we get lost. Even though they're doing dishes, but actually their mind is not with doing dishes. That is how you train. It's okay, even your mind wander off is fine. So if you keep doing that, you're with what you are doing. When you're doing dishes, make sure you are fully focused on doing, you're fully here aware doing your dishes. It's okay. Even your mind wander off many times, you still bring your mind back to focus on what you're doing now. And then if you keep doing that, it's naturally your mind will not travel too far. It's just like you have a dog, you train them to come back. They naturally come back. It's just like training the mind is like training the dog. It's very easy. You come back. Because this is how you condition your mind. You have to condition your mind. Like brainwash, keep doing that. So keep telling your mind you have to come back. So over a period of time, you'll be able to focus, because if you focus, whatever you're doing, whatever you're doing in this moment, you give it all you have, 100% focus. Actually, you do well in everything because you're focused. Whatever you do, you give it 100% because you're fully here, fully present. And actually you're more efficient. And you do well. Because our mind scattered, we all wander off, we think other things. That's why we'll make mistakes. Especially it's more dangerous if people doing cutting, and you start to think you cut your finger. And they have to keep, to do that, whatever you do, one thing at a time, and fully here. This is how being present. So you are not thinking the future, you are not thinking the past, but you bring your mind back fully with what you are doing right now. And you need to train that again and again and again. It's just like any Olympics or any world champion. How many hours they spend, like the swimmer, how many hours they have to swim, only for that 1 minute or how many seconds. The same thing, this is how you train your mind. So does that make sense to you? Does that answer the question? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Okay. So Richard from Bolivia. Does Chanda Iddhipada refer to the desires to let go and to be virtuous and compassionate, and not to the desires of attaining jhanas of enlightenment? Because of desire, jhana is painful. Sometimes the desires actually, it leads you to let go of all to abandon all the desires. So that's why sometimes, like, this kind of desires is not different from, like, not from the sensual pleasure, you want to get things, but sometimes you have to desire to practice, desire that this is my goal, that desires to abandon your defilements. So, and this is Travis. Hi Ajahn, can I ask whether I should forgive myself for undisciplined, repeated unskillful mistakes? Okay. So if a mistake has been repeated again and again, it's not a mistake, it's a choice. So you make that choice. So that's like, yes, you forgive yourself, but you have to make an effort to change. But no point that each time you forgive yourself, you do it again. And you do it again. And then if you do it again and again, it's not a mistake anymore. It's a choice. You make that choice. So that's why you have to put in effort to restrain yourself. How can I deal with anger while at work? And when I can't always leave the situation, okay. Deal with anger when you're at work. Sometimes it's good that when at work, and one of the strategy you can use, you can just stop and take 3 deep breaths. because that helped you have a break, because you follow by thoughts, you're thinking about it, and then you can just, on the spot, you can do that breathing exercise. You just do breathing in anger, breathing out peace, breathing in anger, breathing out peace, because that is also to train your mind, to give that psychological imprint in your mind that it's okay. You learn to make peace with that. You embrace it. Even you're angry, you embrace the anger. So you breathing in anger is allowed anger, is that you're accepting the anger, and then you're breathing out peace. So you embrace, you make peace with the anger. So you can just do it on the spot. It's helpful. There's many people that do it. They find that after few months they do it, they find that it's really useful, even at work. And you can do it anywhere. It's not necessary that you have to sit in meditation. It's helpful. Dear Ajahn, how does actually thoughts connect with feelings? As none, how did Ajahn observe all negative feelings and practice to grow positive one? So for thoughts, sometimes the thoughts is come with, sometimes that is the feelings arises with context. The thoughts also actually is like there is a context. For example, sometimes we see certain things, or sometimes we see certain things, and then that is like the mental contact, the mental object. Sometimes we think, and that is when there is a contact, feeling arises. But for example, we see something, or we are in some similar situation, and then this is how it's triggered off a thoughts. And then with the thoughts, and then it's because there is a contact. That's because of in the environment, it's triggered off, then the feeling arises. So that's why with that, actually, you need to practice your mind, your present moment awareness, your mindfulness is strong, then only you'll be able to catch that and not to follow that, then you can grow, like for example, I know that this is something, even when I was young, I know that this is something that if I follow these thoughts that make me unhappy, so normally I stop. So I will start thinking something that is positive. Like for example, like I'm talking about my mother, like rather I thinking of like she left me, but I'm thinking of I have her for all these years. But this you need to really train that your mind have to be like your mindfulness have to be strong enough to be able to catch that. If not, you have to have enough clarity to do that. If you don't have enough clarity, it's very difficult. That's why it needs to practice. My mom is very emotional, immature. I want to forgive her, but don't want to take care of her emotional needs anymore. I feel tired about that. How to forgive while maintaining boundary? Yeah, sometimes you just, you don't have to force yourself to forgive. Sometimes you can always do loving kindness towards yourself, that may I be able to forgive her. Yeah, sometimes people tend to force themselves to forgive, but you don't have to force yourself to forgive. So, and also sometimes sometimes like you have to make the person, to forgive her. Then after that, you have to maintain the boundary. Say no. Sometimes you reflect on that. Sometimes you reflect on that. Sometimes saying no is not necessary. That is not kind. Because sometimes when we say yes to all things, actually we reinforce that person's defilements. We allow that person, So sometimes we have to be more assertive to say no to things. Say sorry. Then after a while, the person will learn, that you have to learn to say no, but then at the same time, to have loving kindness toward the person and forgive the person, knowing that, the person also suffer. So any more questions or comments? No? Any more questions? Any more comments? No? Okay. Okay, going, gone, okay.